Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday. I don't even know what day it is. The 26th, 2020. This is going to be a hard day for me. I've been trying to prepare for it all week, but I don't think I could ever be prepared to have this conversation. Not with both my son and my niece. Um, Even though I don't feel it's going to be really much about me. It's going to be more about their friends and family, as well. But, we're about to find out because, as you know, I never know what's going to happen once I start this. So, for those of you that don't know, my son died on April 25th, 2017. So, it's been 3 years and 8 months and 1 day, actually. And the reason why I know that wasn't like I'm a whiz with numbers. I used to be, but smartphones make us stupid. Um, it's because I do another YouTube channel where I try every day to express how I'm feeling with him gone, and that I have an app that tells me the numbers. And yesterday was 0 days, so I remember that. He died from fentanyl after being clean for about 3 months, 3.5 months. And he was given a pure fentanyl bag on purpose by his friend who just wanted his drug friend back. So he thought if he gave him a bigger high, he would come back to drugs, which obviously that didn't happen. And unfortunately, I found him dead the next day. So, very hard pill to swallow, as well as when it comes down to it, too, my son did not use very often and didn't use very long before it took his life. So, my son wasn't the typical heroin user, was not the typical drug user, and didn't have the lifestyle that we stereotype and assume kids who use drugs use them because of abuse, because their parents use, etc. Those are stereotypes, and unfortunately, it touched my world. So, from a death perspective, obviously, with what I do, I can experience him. I usually feel him versus see him. Sometimes he'll tell me a message. It's usually that he loves me. Um, sometimes I get to see him, and then the worst part of it is when he goes and leaves my side, it's like losing him all over again. So it really, really can be painful. My niece Shannon, she's actually my niece by marriage, so she's not blood, but I would never call her anything other than my niece, because even though she wasn't born to my family, she was my family in a lot of ways. Shannon she died in September of 2015, so about a year and a half before my son died. Unfortunately, due to suicide, due to traumas that she experienced when she was about 10 years old by her biological father. And so she couldn't recover from that. And she wants to put a message out there for those that love her and cared for her. And she wants to talk about, why she wasn't recovering from that trauma, just so that way her family has an understanding as well as, other things. So my son, as you guys have seen in the background a lot, that's my son. In case those with abilities sees him, even that one. Look, that one. Sorry, when you're like looking in the camera reverse, it kind of throws you off. Those that have abilities that might see him from time to time, especially people who, know him very well or maybe don't and just need to give me a message. That's what he looks like. If it comes through, great. If it doesn't, wonderful too. Shannon, I quickly grabbed a photo, but I know there's a better photo of Shannon, but this is Shannon. It's our memorial card, unfortunately. It's one of my favorites, and I know it's one of her mom's favorites, which is why, they put it on the card. I wanted to quickly grab a photo, but then I kind of got distracted with, life, Christmas and cleaning and everything that needed to be done for just general stuff. But I'm going to pull up another one of my favorite photos. As soon as I find it here real quick, I should have pulled it up and loaded it, but it just popped in my mind when Shannon was saying, show the one photo, which has a really funny story behind it. So while I'm looking for it, and I'm looking down, looking at it, I know it's going to be hard, and I know in some aspects for those that watch it, especially family, I'm already tearing up thinking of some of the things they're going to say. But it needs to be said. And for Morgan's friends that are watching or will be watching, there's a lot he wants to say to you guys too. And I know he did that little in-person session shortly after he died, which was hard and funny at the same time. And we're going to, here we go, I found it. We are going to do another live in-session session eventually. But this is one of Shannon's and Morgan's favorite pictures. This was actually in my front living area, which for those of you that come to my practice now is my office area. Morgan is, standing behind the one in front, and Shannon is behind him. And they were wrestling in the sumo suits during construction of that part of the house. So it's one of those great memories that, I like seeing when I see it, but Shannon told me to show you guys that. So anyhow, let's kind of get in there. I'm not sure who's going to talk first. I feel like Shannon is because she just keeps coming up on me. So let's talk to Shannon first. And I feel like it's because for Morgan, there's going to be a lot more friends to talk about than Shannon. Because even though she had a lot of friends, she at the same time didn't. And, it was because she was sheltering herself from a lot of people in general. But before we get in there, she specifically wants me to tell Michael that she is super proud of you. And just like your mom standing next to her as well. Another family might chime in, so we'll see what happens. But they both are super proud of you. Shannon specifically, because you guys had such a really great close relationship. I think you might have dated too. And it was one of those things that losing her crushed your world as well. Sorry. She's giving me your sadness when she died. And it's interesting because experiencing Morgan dying too, you don't necessarily think about how hard it hits the friends, right? I mean, you do, but you really don't. And the sadness she's showing me was really hard for you. And in a lot of ways, it was harder to lose her than it was to lose your mom. Even though that hurt, losing Shannon was just a little bit more painful for you. And yes, the age factor is part of it, and it's your friend, it was your close friend, like BFF, she said, to the end. Literally BFF to the end. But she's commending you on getting yourself out of the darkness, and that how much you struggled for a while there as well, trying to find hope when there was no hope anywhere. So she wants you to know how proud she was, and that she stayed by your side the whole time. And when your mom was dying in the hospital, she was with you then too. She was the one who gave you courage to propose. She said you were nervous about being rejected, even though you shouldn't have had a reason to feel that way. But you were worried, and she was giving you the courage that you needed.
And she just wants you to know she'll always be there for you. She also wants me to mention Sean and Allison. These were people that she was friends with, but yet not close friends with. But both of them are on a path that's going to take them down a situation they cannot get out of. And she wants you guys to reconsider your friends and the situations that you're being put in recently. And you'll notice recently that those situations are changing and they're just right there with the writing on the wall, but yet you're not listening to them. So she wants you to keep that in mind. And maybe, Mike, you know who these people are. If you do, it's your choice. If you want to reach out to them and say anything, if you don't, that's okay as well. Anything I say in this world, they eventually will hear somehow, some way. So, yeah. All right. So now she wants to talk to family. Family is in a lot of pain still. There's some that are just ignoring it. There are some that are angry, very angry. And then there's some that just have dealt with it and they get sad when, important things come up or when other family members are sad. Obviously, I'm one of those. I'm really surprised how much I'm actually crying during this. I thought I'd be able to get through it. I will. Just see me cry the whole time, and hopefully you understand me. She understands why those that are angry still. She can't take away how people feel about it. All she can do is explain herself for those that are angry still, and for those that are tuned out and decided that, we're not going to think about it. We're not going to process it. I'm not going to air out any laundry here. It's not my place. But what I will say is what she's telling me, which is, in the end, she couldn't heal. Because every time somebody looked at her, she felt she was being judged. And even though that wasn't the case, and she knows that now in the spirit world, her human side and in the real life world, as a lot of people don't necessarily understand the difference, because why would you unless you have abilities? So I understand, which is why I have to say to a lot of people in the real world, because when spirits say something, that's all great, but in the real world, which I still live in, I have to put in a different perspective for people. So she always felt judged, and she always felt, whenever she felt judged, she was put right back into that traumatic event that changed her life. And even though she sought out therapy to assist her, she never really felt like anybody would see her different than the trauma that occurred to her. Which every time that happened, she would revert inwards and try and protect and save herself. Because if she ignores it and puts the wall up, then maybe everyone else will go away. Which pushed a lot of people away as well. Which then created the cycle of being alone and then acting out to get attention. And for those of you that understand that, will understand that attention aspect. Her parents, her mom and my brother, they did everything they could for her. She acknowledges that. Sorry. She's crying now. So she acknowledges how much they tried. And if she was honest with them, then maybe things would have been different. But she wasn't. And her parents didn't push. None of us did. Even myself. I figured if she wanted to talk about it, she would talk to me. But I should have pushed her a little bit and just made her talk to me. And then she just said that, well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And working with kids. Because I'll be able to embrace them in a different way so they can talk about it in a way that works for them. Not just sit there and tell me everything and all aspects of what happened and how you're feeling, because kids, teenagers respond and talk differently. And they may say something that is them saying what's wrong, but yet we don't understand it as an adult because we've forgotten what it's like to be a teenager. And yet, on top of that, we don't know and understand what it's like to be a teenager in today's day and age, even a kid in today's day and age, because technology and everything that's happened so drastically and so fast. So it's okay to not understand our kids. It's okay to not understand why they're stressed out, but they are. And that's the thing, like, if we can separate that and take our own personal thoughts out of it and see them for who they are, then maybe we'll see things a little bit differently and be able to help them better. So Shannon wants my brother and his wife, her mom, to know how much she loves them and that she's sorry. She's sorry she didn't have the strength to fight. And she's sorry for the pain she's caused the family, especially those that are still very angry with her. But she's hoping that this will help. And maybe just understand a little bit so you can let go of the anger. Because all that anger does is guard you from everybody else, and then others don't want to talk to you about it or bring up her name or say too much because they're worried you're going to get angry. So if we can stop, if that can stop, she feels people will heal a little bit better. She was with you guys with the burial, so, which was done recently. The ashes, what you guys chose to do with it is awesome. She couldn't have decided for herself, even if she wanted to, because in the end it was very personal for all of you. She just wants you to know she's sorry, and that to remember the good stuff, remember the good memories. It doesn't help for her to say she's no longer in pain, other than to certain family members that will instantly understand and want to hear that. But for others that are angry and in denial still, that's just pouring salt on an open wound, she's saying. But at the same time, it's important for her to say that. So, Kat, she wants you to know that she's always by your side. As you're going through experiences that she should have gone through first, so that way she can help you, she's there. And she wants you to know how awesome you are and how amazing life is for you. And it's only going to get better. And as it does, she'll be there. She will be there. You were the one she truly trusted the most. Well, she said outside of Aunt Bonnie, but she said me. She didn't say Aunt Bonnie, but I conveyed Aunt Bonnie. And for me, it was just because of the spiritual side and knowing that I understood what she was going through. But she trusted you the most. But yet at the same time, she tried to protect you So she didn't want to share too much with you either, which again, you have some guilt, she's telling me, about her not talking to you about any problems. And so the guilt is that maybe if you pushed her as well to talk about things, things might have been different. But she wouldn't have done it. She would have just said, I'm fine. It's okay. But yet, the judgment that she thought she saw. And you might be wondering, those watching, why it is that she felt we were all judging her when we weren't. It's a term in counseling called mirroring. And what it is that the person, when they see somebody else who has everything that they want within that person, within themselves, they mirror their feelings out inwards, outwardly. And instead of seeing that person as non-judgmental, she was seeing her own judgment of herself within her eyes, in the other person's eyes, I should say. And so that mirroring, even though it wasn't there from those people, to her it was. And it was because of her energy and her thoughts and her perception of what people were doing. And she acknowledges that now. And if she had somebody who understood a little bit better, maybe things would be different. She's telling me they would be, but again, I live in the real world, just as all her family does. So, Grammy, she wants me to tell you hi. She said, tell Grammy hi. I miss Christmas. Christmas was always fun. You always made me laugh at Christmas with, your weird words and things that you'd done. So, she's got a big smile on her face as she says that. So Paul Kane, she knows you tried in your own way. You just come off abrasive, she said, and too pokey, too in your face sometimes. And even though that's how you thought would be the best way to handle it, even when you were joking, at the same time, for her, that was too much. And she just, wanted to back away. So she knows you tried, and she's acknowledging that. For mom, she wants mom to just talk about her. It's okay to talk about her. Even with people who are mad or you think are okay, and if you bring her up, they won't be. That might happen. And that's okay too. There's a great organization out there, and I mentioned it last week. They will send you free, there's rubber bands for your wrist, as well as a free lanyard. There's a couple things. It's called Save My Child's Name. I think it's a .org. And it's to put out there how important it is to say our children's name that have died. It's important to say everybody's name that died. Because even if it's not a child, it's still somebody's partner, spouse, parent, sister, brother, whatever the case. And we tend to not say the names because we don't want to see this reaction. But this reaction is not a bad thing. It's a stress reliever, as well as a way to just deal with some of those emotions that are stuck deep within us. I know the first time somebody said Morgan's name, it was like a tidal wave and a shock to my system. Because for almost a year, nobody wanted to say his name. Except for me. So it hurt. It hurt deep. But once it happened, it was like, yes, why is nobody saying his name? Saying our children's name is a way for us to keep their memory alive because it's important to us. just as important to everybody else that loved and cared about them. So Morgan says, Aunt Heather, make sure you start talking about Shannon more often and talk to her more out loud. You're already doing that when you're by yourself. Like, you'll kind of say, hey, thinking of you, or I miss you. But Morgan says you don't do it enough. Morgan says you need to do it more. He said, be like my mom. She talks to me every day, even if I'm not there. It helps. It helps, Heather. It helps a lot. So, yeah, that's just Shannon's side. So maybe Morgan's will be a little easier. For those of you that were connected to Shannon and would like a little message from her or want more information, please reach out to me. I will absolutely do that. But she loves you all, and she misses all of you from a physical perspective, especially her siblings, where she would, well, when she was younger, she would wrestle and play and just, have fun. And then when she got older, like, oh, leave me alone kind of thing. As everyone else was trying to make her laugh or trying to get her out of her little funk she was in. So she misses all that. And she says those are fond memories for her as well. Okay. Side note, a different Heather. Your mother, Donna, she just chimed in. She said, you got this. And yes, it's hard losing your whole family, but you got this. You were, even in your weakest times, you were your strongest. And just keep your head up. This time is hard, but focus on your child and your future children, and the loss that you've experienced in your life won't feel too terrible. And again, as I hear that, I understand you are still in the physical world, so that terribleness is a degree of being okay versus not being okay. So sorry, I had to chime that one in real quick. Okay, so Morgan, oh my God, Morgan is literally bouncing around in this room. And those that, especially his friends who knew Morgan very well, like, that's what he did. He was, if he wasn't sitting playing Xbox or on the computer, he was literally antsy, just kind of making jokes, bouncing from one person to the other, and that's what he's doing over here to my side. Yeah, he just said, Mom, you're doing a great job. Which is funny. Thank you, Morgan. There's so many things to say. Uncle Frankie wants you to know that you keep putting yourself into situations where it feels like you shouldn't be in them, and yet at the same time you keep doing it. So Dave likes to use a phrase of, you complain that you're getting wet all the time, but yet you go outside without an umbrella. And so Morgan's saying, reevaluate certain things and make some changes that you need to make that would give you the life you actually would want. And that's surrounded by your kids and family, as well as just kind of getting some time off. So make sure you're speaking for yourself and making the changes you need to make, because otherwise nobody's going to do it for you, especially you, because you feel like you have to be the savior of everyone. And although he's really appreciative of that, especially when it comes to Mom, meaning me, you have to save yourself first. You can't save anybody else if you're run down and hurt and, overworked and stressed out and everything like that. He's saying stop waiting for the true winters to come, because they're never going to come anymore. Our world has shifted so much that it's going to be very rare. We're going to get back to the winters that we used to have around here. So The only time will tell with that one. Um, and Heather, he wants you to know that him and Shannon are having a great time, and they got each other's back. So, you know, it's really they're good. It's just us that hurt. Grandpop, I saw you put that out there. See, that was a joke that Morgan would say to my dad all the time. Um, he laughed when you said it, even though it was delayed for me to respond to that. Um, he said, even though he was a pain in the ass, you really did help him. And he said, if Mom would have said she would move to Arkansas, he would have stayed. He just missed Mom too much, meaning me. And instead of actually asking me to move to Arkansas because he wanted to stay, he worded it in a way that my response didn't understand what he was asking. He just, him and I were thinking, I can't even talk right now. Him and I were thick as thieves. It was always him and I. Even though, yes, he had a dad, and yes, he would see his dad and his stepmom, and yes, he had a stepdad. In the end, he was very close to women, especially me. And when he was with his dad, his stepmom, she's the only reason I would let him see his biological dad. Without her there, there's no way I would have felt comfortable with Morgan seeing his dad. And that's the God honest truth. And Steve, you could be furious at me for saying that. I don't give a shit. It's the truth. And your wife knows that as well. Your ex-wife knows that as well. Which Morgan wants me to tell Kristen hi, and that there's so much he could say and so much that he misses, and he appreciates to say that you love him more than anything. You recently had said that you love him more than Jolly Ranchers or something like that. And he laughed when you said that, and he said, that was a pretty close, tough race there because that's what you loved a lot. He wants you to know as well that even though at this point in your life you probably don't want to have a child, if you wanted a child, you just need belly work and you need to release the restrictions around your ovaries and your uterus. And if you do that, you would have a child. Message me if you want to understand that a little more. Steve, as much as I, have my issues with you, Morgan doesn't anymore. He did for a while there, but he doesn't anymore. And he's really happy of what you did with his ashes and making the box with the trains and all that stuff. He really appreciates of that. And the chances of you seeing this, I know, are slim to none. Somebody will relay the information to you, which is fine. But he wants you to really kind of decide the life you want to have because you're causing a lot of pain to a lot of people in your life as well. And you can get the help you need, but you need to stop playing a victim. We're all victims, every one of us. We're a victim of something or someone. Even if it's just one moment of time, we're a victim. And some of us just choose to be a survivor. But you haven't chose to do that yet. You're wishing upon death, but yet you're still here. So How about not wish upon death, but get your life together? Because there are people in your life that love you and still want you around, but they want you around because you want to be around, not because of the person that you're choosing to be and that you've chosen to be for a long time. So decide and then make the changes you need to make. Once you do that, then you and I could have a different, respectful friendship. Otherwise, I can't have you in my life either. Morgan's agreeing with that. Okay. Who else? Before we go to friends. Morgan said Dave, he's sorry for being an asshole. He was going off of misinformation that was given to him, as well as it's my mom. I can't just let my mom be okay. And he don't mean that in a bad way, just that he was the one to save my mom. He's the one who would make my mom happy. Not another person. So he says you're pretty cool. And he wishes he wasn't a jerk. To his aunt, Kara, he wants you to know that he's sorry that he couldn't be in your guys' life as much as he should have been, but unfortunately with the dynamics of mom and dad, and the way dad especially was, it was especially harder towards the end, and he knows how much you love him. You miss him. To his other grandparents, he visits them from time to time, even though they don't realize it. Grandmom does, but when she talks about him, she talks about him more in like a past tense situation, and when that happens, it creates this weird dynamic, and when it does, it becomes a confusion kind of situation. And everyone thinks, well, no, Morgan's gone, when in actuality she was talking to him. So for those that are around her, that when she talks about Morgan being there, just know that he was. And just let her know that, it's awesome, and what did he say, and how does he look. It'll help her a lot, and it'll help you guys too. Aunt Manda, he wants me to tell you that Christmas was always fun with you. You would tease him so much that even though he would claim that he hated it or be annoyed by it, he actually thought it was funny. And he really just enjoyed when you were around picking on him. He even he just said that I don't have smelly pits anymore. So it's sweaty pits. Oh man, don't do that. And Dana, it's just, you guys just picked on each other. So, he but you did that with everybody. So, to him it was pretty awesome. And then his other aunts and uncles, which fortunately he got to know again near the end of his life. He just wants you all to know that you need him, let him know. He'll be there to help guide you with any information that you need. So my other siblings, Virginia, Donna, and Michael, they're there. Okay, I feel like I'm going to move on to friends real quick because the time is running down so fast. All right, first off, Katie. He says your stomach issues is a combination of the medicine that helps with your pain and your anxiety, and then the combination of having a glass of wine or a beer, and that the alcohol mixed with the medication is eating up your stomach a little bit, and so that's why you're experiencing a lot of nausea and a lot of like kind of things. He even did that. I don't know why he did it, but that's what he did. So I guess that's a thing between you and him. Um, and that he wants you to keep that in mind. So when you know you're going to have a couple drinks, if you can skip the medicine, skip the medicine. If you can't, and I'm going to say if you can, meaning you don't need to take it because of how it's prescribed, which I don't feel that it is the way that he's saying it. But again, human world versus spirit world. Um, that you'll see a huge difference and change within that. He wants me to tell you your youngest is very spiritually connected and very spiritually active. Um, that she plays with him a lot, and he teases her quite a bit, and so gets her frustrated out of nowhere. So when Ava is really like, you know, annoyed and just and she seems like, you know, nothing or no one has bothered her, it was Morgan. And he said that he's doing it a little bit because one, he's trying to just get her to loosen up and relax, but then also um, it's just to annoy you a little bit. And he was really good at annoying you, so he wants to make sure he annoys you a little bit more in life, and he does it especially when you need to experience that. Dad says hi too, just so you know, Katie. He's here as well. All right. Uh, who's more going? Nick. So Morgan said, for you, the where you're going to thrive the most is if you move away from this town. Go somewhere where you want to go and be you, because you'll never be able to be who you truly want to be in Bensalem. You're just not. Um, Not even locally into the Philadelphia area or even just into Jersey. Go somewhere else, you know, up north, down south, to the west, somewhere far away from this town, um, because it's not good for you and it never will be. So it's okay. It gives your family someplace to visit, which he's saying if I had realized if I stayed in Arkansas, my mom would have visited more often, which would have helped my aunts and uncles and my grandpop as well. But I didn't think that way. So he wants you to learn from his mistake and seek where you actually truly want to be and make that change. It's scary, but it's awesome. Christian, your mom's here. She wants you to know as well. She's proud of you and all that you're doing to help yourself, but as well as your stepdad. So, which is a challenge to begin with. Morgan wants you to specifically know that, oh, he misses your quirky laugh. Like, you always made him laugh. And when you did, it was like the weirdest thing. Like, you almost got him to snort sometimes as well. So, and he said that it's very rare that somebody got him to snort. It was mom or you would get him there. TJ, you're just making so many changes in your life that are really positive, and you're just moving forward, and that's awesome. And he can't be more excited for you, and he can't wait for your kids to be born so that way he can interact with them. And if you have a picture of him in the home, your kids will point him out, and then you'll know that he's around. Sorry. That just hit me a little hard. TJ was one of his best friends for a long time. I mean, all these kids were his great friends, but TJ was there for a long time. Which goes into his first, I'd say, best friend, Zach. Zach, he's gonna kick your ass. Stop putting your mother through this bullshit, because all she's gonna do is destroy her. He said, she's not like my mom. You will destroy her. But yet she will be there to assist you and to help you. You just have to want it. You just have to ask. And if that means you have to give up certain people in your life and make changes, then that's what you do. But the most awesome thing is that mom will go wherever you go. If you want to move, she'll go with you without hesitation. It might have to be planned out due to owning a home and selling it and, doing things and talking to her person that she's with, the relationship she's in. But you got to do it. You got to break the ties to the toxic people in your life, because you're not allowed to be on the other side. He doesn't want you there. Heroin is hard. It's very addictive. But you can do it. And he wants you to do it. You are his first best friend. He doesn't want his best friends here. And that goes for everybody that have used. Schmo, he doesn't want you here. You're doing good, but you still dabble from time to time. He says you don't get the help you need. Pat, you too. He said, what you're doing for my mom is awesome. And even at times when you struggle to do the right thing, he wants you to know he's very proud of you. That struggle is going to be worth it at the end, because it's going to free you and free my mom at the same time. Matt M. There's a few Matts he had friends with. Matt M. You need to seek out a trauma specialist. If you really want to beat this, which you're trying, but if you want to beat it, you need to seek out a trauma therapist, because there's a lot of trauma in your life that you're ignoring, and unfortunately that dirty, gross, having to deal with it is the only way we heal. And that's true for everybody. We have to process the feelings and the emotions, but it's very hard to do that. And it's very hard when we've forgotten some things. You've lost a lot of people. And comparing your life to other people and saying, it should have been me, not him, doesn't help the situation. All it does is make you realize that there's some things that you should be doing to make your life a little bit better. Joey, he's like, damn, boy. You really, out of all of us, have really shined, and have put yourself in a position of where it is you want to be in life and what you value, and yet you're not going to take no for an answer. And if we could all learn a little bit, or if we did learn a little bit from you, maybe things would be different for a lot of us. But we all had our own path, and you're doing great. And he says, continue to do the great things that you're doing for yourself. Really, really continue it. There's so many. Jimmy, he's so glad to see that you and your family are thriving and doing well, and you're going to continue to do so. As your body fails, though, you need to start to think of different career paths that will allow you to not work as much, but still bring in the income that you need. That's going to be important, very important for you. We just had to take a moment here and pause. He's starting to back off, which I see what time it is, and I know he respects the time. So there's so many friends out there that he wants to say so much to. So we'll have to do that either another session or when we do it a live in-person thing. But overall, he wants you all to know that he's doing pretty awesome, and that he's glad you're not there. Because even though it is awesome, not every parent can survive the loss of their child. It's hard. So collectively, from Morgan and Shannon, as well as all the other kids over there, there's quite a bit that are just in the circle of me that I know through other family members, through various things. Aunt Retta, Brett's here too. Drew's here too. Like, they're both here. Um, Drew is my cousin, and he passed away recently as well from drugs. And he said you finally are taking control of your life and what you truly are good at and how to help your kids in a way that actually works. Because you've always struggled with how to help your kids when Brett died. And Brett was like, you always thought he was the glue, but you're the glue. You're the glue that held the family together. Yes, the kids gravitated towards me, but that's just because I was a little bit more relaxed and less stressed. But in the end, it was you holding everybody together. So they're both really excited about the journey that you have chosen to make, and it's going to really give you the happiness that you've been looking for that you haven't been able to find. Okay, with that, I'm glad you guys chimed in. Thank you. I'm sure she needs to hear that. So, Mom, I don't know if you want to forward it to her afterwards or remind me, and I will, because I don't think she watches. Okay, so collectively, from the mom's perspective of this world and this pain, outside of saying our kid's name, when somebody's kid passes away, we don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. And that makes sense because most of us have kids, and, the thought of losing one of our children, it's unbearable. In the end, all you have to say is, I love you, even if they're just friends, because love doesn't mean you're in love with somebody. It just means that you give them love and respect. I love you, and I'm here. Even if you don't want to talk and you just want somebody to sit, I'm here. And don't expect to get an answer from that. Don't expect an invite, because you just want to be alone for a while. Because you feel like you have to entertain or you have to be okay for that person. So if you don't hear anything, that's okay. Once a week, just check in. Hey, just checking in. I'm here if you need me. And make sure you say their names. I know it's hard. I know you're struggling. I miss Morgan too. I miss Shannon. I miss Drew. I miss. There's so many that started to chime in. But just be a little light and a little bit of love. It goes so long. And also, don't discourage how somebody's life affected somebody else. Because you might think, well, they're not a family member. They're just a friend. Why are they so devastated by that? We all resonate and connect with people. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter the connection. Pain is pain. So if somebody's hurting, even if it was somebody they met just once, they might have met that person in a moment of time when they needed to meet that person. So if they're gone, it was painful. So if we could just be a little less abrasive towards people and a little more understanding, even if we don't understand what they're feeling or what they're going through, we can give a little bit of perspective of pain. We've all lost somebody. Whether it was a natural order or not a natural order, we've all lost somebody. And that pain is equally the same. Um, for the moms out there that are truly struggling with their children who are currently actively using or currently suicidal or lost and you don't know what to do, just acknowledge that you don't know what to do. Say, I don't understand. And then go to that child and say, how can I help? You don't need to understand. You don't need to figure it out for them because whatever you figure out is not going to be what they need or what they want. How many times have you been told to figure somebody's going to figure it out for you, but you didn't want them to figure it out for you? One, because maybe you didn't like their answer. Maybe you wanted them to, but then didn't like the solution. Okay, fine. All I simply do is, what can I do to help you? And if they say nothing, I don't know, okay. You ask the following day, the next week, what can I do to help you? Because all that you're doing by doing that, even if they never ever help tell you how to help them, they'll eventually see you're trying to listen. And how many of us have had situations where we're not being listened to? We're trying to say something that's not coming through, or the person can't hear it because we're trying to put our own twist on it and understand this and understand that. Forget about it. We're all individual people with individual situations and individual circumstances, and we all process things differently. Simply by saying, what can I do to help you, puts the ball into their court. And when they're ready to speak, you'll be ready to listen. Even if you can't help them, you are listening. And sometimes that's all somebody needs, is somebody to listen. So try it when you're frustrated. Try it when you're angry at your kids. Try it when you're disconnected from somebody and you don't even know why. Or maybe you do know why, but you haven't shifted and made that change. Try it. You don't have to say, what can I do to help you? Especially if you're in a situation where you haven't talked to somebody in a while. But just say, what happened that we don't talk anymore? Because your perspective is going to be completely different than the other person's. And then you're going to start that conversation. Because in the end, if we're talking, we're not fighting. We might be, but we're talking it out, so we won't be. If somebody's using, they're talking. If somebody's dying or wants to die, they're talking. Communication is so important. Communication with a lot of perspective. So, hard day for me. I'll probably cry a little bit longer. Love you too, Dad. I just saw you put that out there. I love you all, all that have watched today, especially for this hard one for me. And yeah, next Saturday, I'm going to take a break before we start the new year. I want to actually start the new year with some self-help stuff. So not next Saturday, which would be the second, the following one, I'll put out there in advance the self-help that I'll do. I have some cool things and cool gadgets. I now have a camera that moves. I can move around, as well as my mom got me this awesome spotlight, which, you guys might be wondering why I look a little brighter than normal, but that's just the light. It's not me glowing. So yeah, it opens up some things for me to do. But yeah. All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. And definitely a Happy New Year. And just keep talking.